I'm Samantha, and I thought I knew my life. 15 years of marriage to Daniel. A steady rhythm in our city apartment. A bond I believed was unbreakable. But lately, a chilling silence has grown between us. An invisible wall I couldn't tear down. When Daniel suggested a getaway to a remote cabin by Lake Whisper, nestled deep in a forest where the world fades away, I hoped it would mend us. Instead, as I stood on that weathered terrace, sipping tea under a serene sky, a storm brewed in the shadows of the pines. Strangers emerged, their presence heavy with unspoken intent, and Daniel's piercing green eyes watched with a calm that froze my blood. What did he mean when he said they'd stay for an hour? And what dark secret was he waiting to unveil? Picture this. A single, fleeting moment where the world seems to hold its breath, and all you can hear is the faint whisper of your own thoughts. That's where I find myself now, standing on the edge of something I can't quite name. My name is Samantha, and at 40 years old, I've carved out a life that looks pretty on the outside. Married to Daniel for 15 years, we've built a steady rhythm in the heart of the city, apartment, routines, the hum of traffic as our constant soundtrack. Daniel, 43, is a man of few words, but his presence fills a room. Those sharp green eyes of his cut through you, always watching, always thinking something he won't say. He's reserved, almost too much so, and lately I felt the weight of that silence grow heavier. There's a distance between us now, not something we've named or fought over, just a quiet void that's crept in over time. I catch myself wondering when it started, or if it was always there, hiding beneath the surface of our shared life. A few weeks ago, Daniel came to me with an idea, a getaway, a chance to step away from the grind. He suggested a remote cabin by Lake Whisper, a place so far from civilization that even cell service feels like a distant memory. Tucked deep in a forest of towering pines, it's a spot where the world seems to shrink down to just you and the wilderness. He said he needed the silence, a reset from the chaos of our urban cage. His voice was low, almost urgent, and I couldn't say no. I wanted to believe this trip could be the thread to stitch us back together, to close that unspoken gap I've felt widening. So I packed a bag, and we left the city behind, chasing a promise of something better, or at least something different. The drive to the cabin was a journey in itself, a slow unraveling of the life we knew. The roads twisted and turned, narrowing as we pushed deeper into the forest. Dense pine trees flanked us on either side, their branches knitting together overhead, filtering the sunlight into dappled patches on the windshield. The tires crunched over gravel, a steady rhythm that felt like a countdown to something I couldn't predict. With every mile, the air grew sharper, cleaner, stripping away the smog of the city until I could taste the rawness of the wilderness on my tongue. Daniel drove in silence, his hands tight on the wheel, his gaze fixed ahead. I stole glances at him, trying to read the lines of his face, but he gave nothing away. Just those green eyes, flickering with thoughts I couldn't reach. When we finally arrived, the cabin emerged from the trees like a relic of a simpler time. It's a rustic thing, weathered by years of wind and rain, with wooden walls that creak under the slightest touch. The floors groan with every step, as if they're whispering secrets of whoever stayed here before us. A stone fireplace sits at the heart of the cabin, its blackened stones promising warmth against the chill of the forest nights. I remember stepping out of the car that first evening, the weight of the journey settling into my bones, but also a flicker of hope. Maybe here, in this isolated slice of the world, Daniel and I could find our way back to each other. Waking up on our first full day at Lake Whisper feels like stepping into a painting. Sunlight streams through the cabin's small, dusty windows, casting golden patterns across the wooden walls, like nature itself is reaching in to greet me. The air is crisp, carrying the scent of pine and earth, and there's a stillness here that I've never known in the city. I roll out of the creaky bed, my feet touching the cool floor, and I can't help but smile at the simplicity of it all. There's no rush, no noise, just the quiet hum of a world untouched by time. I pad into the tiny kitchen, the floorboards groaning softly under my weight, and set about brewing a pot of chamomile tea. The kettle whistles faintly, a gentle sound in the silence, and I watch the steam rise in lazy curls, twisting and dancing in the morning light. I inhale deeply, letting the soothing floral scent wrap around me like a warm blanket, easing the tension I didn't even realize I was carrying. With my mug in hand, I step out onto the terrace, settling into a weathered Adirondack chair that's seen better days. My bare feet brush against the rough, splintered wood, grounding me in this moment. I take a sip of the tea, the warmth spreading through me, and let my gaze drift to the lake. It's breathtaking. Lake Whisper stretches out before me like a perfect mirror, reflecting the towering pines that stand guard around its edges and the endless blue of the sky above. The surface is so still, it's almost unreal, as if the world is holding its breath just for me. I can't tear my eyes away from it. There's a serenity here that feels like a balm to every jagged edge inside me. For the first time in what feels like forever, my mind quiets, and I just exist. Inside, Daniel is quieter than usual, and that's saying something for a man who's never been one for idle chatter. I glance through the open door and see him sitting on the threadbare couch, a book open in his lap, but he's not reading. His fingers rest on the page, unmoving, and every now and then his sharp green eyes flick up to meet mine. There's something in that look I can't place, a weight that makes my chest tighten just a little. I call out to him, my voice soft so as not to shatter the morning's peace. "You okay, Daniel?" He doesn't answer right away, just watches me for a moment longer before a small, cryptic smile tugs at the corner of his mouth. "I just need this, Sam. You'll see." I'm still sitting in that weathered Adirondack chair on the terrace, the mug of chamomile tea cooling in my hands, when I first hear it. A low murmur, like distant voices carried on the wind. At first, I think it's just my imagination, the forest playing tricks on me with its endless whispers. But then it grows louder, more distinct, accompanied by the unmistakable crunch of boots on pine needles. My heart picks up a little, a nervous flutter in my chest, as I set the mug down on the rough wooden armrest and stand up, peering toward the tree line. The lake still glitters in the distance, serene and untouched, but now there's a tension in the air, a shift I can't quite name. I squint, trying to make out shapes in the shadows of the pines, and then I see them. Two figures emerging, tall and imposing against the backdrop of green. They step into the clearing near the cabin, and I can make out their details now. They're dressed in what looks like forestry or security gear. Dark green jackets with patches on the sleeves, heavy boots that thud against the earth, and caps pulled low over their eyes, shielding their faces from the morning sun. As they approach, I can feel the weight of their presence, like the air itself is growing heavier. My pulse quickens, not out of fear exactly, but from the sudden intrusion into this isolated world I thought belonged just to Daniel and me. They stop a few feet from the terrace, and the older one, a man with a weathered face and deep lines etched into his skin, nods at me. His voice is gravelly, rough like he's spent years shouting over the wind. "Name's Jack," he says, tipping his cap slightly. "This here's Travis." The younger man, sharp-featured with a cocky smirk playing on his lips, gives a casual wave, but his eyes are assessing, darting over me and the cabin behind me. Jack looks to be in his late 40s, while Travis can't be much older than early 30s, but they both carry an air of authority, like they're used to being in charge. We're doing routine checks on properties near the lake. Jack continues, his tone matter of fact, like this is just another day for him. Mind if we take a look around? I open my mouth to respond, but before I can get a word out, I hear the creak of the cabin door behind me. Daniel steps out, his posture relaxed, almost too casual for the situation. He's got that same unreadable expression on his face, the one I've been trying to decipher since we got here. He walks over to Jack and Travis, extending a hand to each of them, shaking firmly as if he's been expecting them all along. I watch, my brow furrowing, as a faint smile tugs at the corner of his lips. He turns to me, his sharp green eyes locking onto mine, and says, "They'll stay for an hour, if you don't mind." I blink, confusion swirling in my mind. An hour? For what? A routine check shouldn't take that long, should it? I search Daniel's face for some kind of explanation, but there's nothing there to grasp. Just that glint in his gaze. Something knowing, something almost amused. My stomach twists, a strange unease settling in as I try to piece together what's happening. Before I can ask, Jack steps closer to me, his heavy boots scuffing against the terrace wood. He's close now, too close, and I can feel the weight of his hand as it lands on my shoulder, firm but not threatening. My breath catches as he leans in, his face near mine, the warmth of his breath brushing against my ear. His voice drops to a low whisper, so quiet I'm sure Daniel can't hear from where he's standing by the railing. "He wants to watch," Jack murmurs, the words sending a jolt through me. "We'll just do as he asks." My stomach drops, a sickening lurch that leaves me dizzy. I pull back slightly, just enough to look into Jack's eyes, searching for some sign that I've misunderstood. I'm standing here on the terrace, frozen in place, my heart pounding so hard, I can feel it in my throat. Jack's hand lingers on my shoulder, a heavy reminder of the words he just whispered, words that have turned my world upside down. I can still feel the warmth of his breath against my ear, the gravelly tone of his voice echoing in my mind, stirring a storm I don't know how to quiet. Behind me, a few steps away, Travis stands with that same smirk curling his lips, his sharp eyes watching me like I'm a puzzle he's already solved. The air around us feels thicker now, oppressive, like it's pressing down on my chest, making every breath a struggle. The scent of pine, so crisp and clean just moments ago, now mixes with something else. Something primal. A faint musk of sweat and unspoken anticipation that hangs between us all. I force myself to look at Daniel, standing there by the railing, his posture as calm as ever. I search his face. Those sharp green eyes that have always held so much I couldn't read, desperate for any sign of doubt, of regret, of anything that might tell me this isn't real. But there's nothing. Just that steady, unflinching gaze, his hands tucked casually into the pockets of his worn jacket, as if this moment, this twisted, surreal moment, is the most normal thing in the world. My mind is a whirlwind, thoughts crashing into each other with no order, no sense. How did we get here? How did 15 years of trust, of routine, of quiet mornings and shared silences lead to this? I see flashes of our life together, lazy Sundays in our city apartment, the way he'd pour my coffee without asking, the small, rare smiles he'd give when he thought I wasn't looking. All of it feels so distant now, like it belongs to someone else. Someone who isn't standing on this terrace, caught in a web I don't understand. And yet, beneath the betrayal, beneath the shock of what's unfolding, there's something else stirring inside me, something dark, something I've never dared to acknowledge before, a curiosity, sharp and dangerous, pricking at the edges of my thoughts. What if I let this happen? What if I step into whatever this is, just to see where it leads? The thought alone feels like a betrayal, a dagger to the life I've built with Daniel, and yet it's there, undeniable, whispering to me in a voice I don't recognize as my own. My hands tremble slightly, and I clench them into fists at my sides, trying to anchor myself, to push that curiosity back into the shadows where it belongs. But it's persistent, gnawing at me, fueled by the weight of Jack's hand, by Travis's knowing smirk, by Daniel's unreadable calm. Jack steps back then, giving me a sliver of space, though his presence still looms. His eyes flick toward Daniel, a quick, subtle glance, as if he's waiting for some kind of signal, some unspoken permission. My stomach twists again, a mix of dread and something I can't or won't name. Travis mutters something under his breath, too low for me to catch the words, but the sound is followed by a soft, mocking chuckle that sends heat rushing to my cheeks. Shame floods me, hot and bitter, mingling with that other feeling, the one I'm too afraid to look at too closely. I want to scream, to demand answers, to shatter this suffocating silence with something, anything, that makes sense. But my voice is trapped, lodged somewhere deep in my chest, held captive by the surreal haze that's settled over this moment. Daniel moves then, just a slight tilt of his head, a nod so subtle I almost miss it. His hand lifts, gesturing toward the cabin door, which stands half open behind us. The dim interior beyond it seems to beckon, a shadowy threshold that feels forbidden, dangerous, like stepping through it would mean crossing a line I can't come back from. My breath catches, shaky and uneven, as I realize the weight of what's happening. My tea mug sits forgotten on the small table beside the Adirondack chair. My legs tremble as I take that first step toward the cabin door, the half-open threshold looming before me like a gateway to a world I don't recognize. The wooden floor creaks under my weight, a sharp, jarring sound that cuts through the heavy silence, echoing in the hollow space of my chest. I can feel the coolness of the air shift as I cross into the dim interior, the scent of pine growing stronger, mingling with the musty, stale odor of a place long untouched. Slivers of sunlight slip through the cracks of the door behind me, dancing across the worn planks in fleeting, golden streaks. But they do little to warm the chill that settled into my bones. Every step feels heavier, like I'm wading through a dream I can't wake from, my body moving on its own while my mind screams to turn back. Jack and Travis follow close behind, their boots thudding against the floor with a deliberate rhythm, each sound a hammer to the fragile shell of my resolve. Their presence is a weight, pressing against me even without touch, the air thick with unspoken intent. I glance over my shoulder, catching the silhouette of Daniel through the doorway. He's settled into a chair on the veranda, his form still and unyielding, those sharp green eyes fixed on the scene unfolding inside. He doesn't move, doesn't speak, just watches with an intensity that makes my skin prickle. His silence is louder than any shout, a void that swallows every thought, every question I want to hurl at him. How can he just sit there? How can he look at me like that, without a flicker of anger, without a trace of anything I can name? Time slows to a crawl as I stand there in the center of the cabin, the world narrowing to the creak of the floor, the uneven rasp of my own breathing, the rustle of fabric as Jack moves closer. My senses are heightened, every detail burning into me with cruel clarity. The roughness of the wooden floor scratches against my knees as I lower myself. A gritty reminder of where I am, of what's happening. There's a warmth near me now, unfamiliar hands brushing against my skin. Not harsh but steady, guiding, as if they've done this before. The air feels charged, electric with something raw and forbidden. A current that hums beneath my skin, pulling at parts of me I've kept buried for years. I can smell the faint tang of sweat, the earthy musk that clings to the moment, mixing with the pine that seeps through the walls. It's overwhelming, suffocating. And yet, my body responds in ways I can't control. Caught in a storm of instinct and confusion. Outside, Daniel's gaze never wavers. I can feel it through the open door, a piercing weight that pins me in place more than any touch. His stillness is unnerving, his face a mask I can't read even from this distance. Does he feel nothing? Is this what he wanted all along, to see me like this, stripped bare in ways that go beyond the physical? My mind reels, guilt crashing over me in relentless waves, each one heavier than the last. I think of our life together, the quiet mornings, the shared glances over dinner, the way his hand would linger on mine just a moment longer than necessary. All of it feels tainted now, stained by this moment, by the knowledge that he's watching and doing nothing to stop it. And yet, beneath the shame, there's a thread of something else, something I'm ashamed to even acknowledge, a thrill, sharp and dangerous, coursing through my veins. It's intoxicating, the feeling of being seen in a way I've never been before, of stepping into a version of myself I didn't know existed. I hate myself for it, for the way my pulse quickens, for the way my body betrays the life I've built. The moment stretches on, agonizing in its slowness, every second a battle between the part of me that wants to scream and the part that's caught in this dark, primal pull. My breath comes in shallow gasps, the air heavy with tension, with the unspoken rules of whatever game we're playing. The warmth around me shifts, a silent dance of closeness. And then it's over. The air in the cabin grows still, heavy with a silence so thick it feels like it could choke me. I'm on the floor, my body weighed down by an exhaustion I can't name, my mind a chaotic swirl of emotions I can't untangle. The echoes of what just happened linger in the space around me, a ghostly presence that clings to the walls, to the rough wooden planks beneath me. I can still feel the phantom touch of unfamiliar hands, the charged energy that coursed through every nerve, leaving me raw and exposed in a way I've never known. My breath is uneven, catching in my throat as I try to ground myself, to make sense of the storm inside me. The faint scent of pine and sweat still hangs in the air, a reminder of the boundary we've crossed, a line I didn't even know existed until I stumbled over it. I hear the shuffle of movement, the heavy tread of boots against the floor as Jack and Travis gather themselves. They don't speak. Not a single word passes between them, and I don't look up to meet their eyes. I can't. The weight of their presence is still too much, a silent judgment I'm not ready to face. Their steps move toward the door, deliberate and unhurried, and then I hear the crunch of gravel outside, the sound of their departure cutting through the oppressive quiet. It grows fainter with each passing second, swallowed by the vastness of the forest, until there's nothing left but the distant whisper of wind through the pines. They're gone, and yet the space they've left behind feels heavier somehow, as if the cabin itself absorbed the tension, the unspoken truths of what transpired here. I'm still on the floor, my limbs leaden, my heart a dull thud in my chest. I don't know how long I stay there, lost in the maze of my own thoughts, replaying every moment, every sensation, trying to understand what it means for me, for us. The creak of the veranda chair outside pulls me back to the present, a slow, deliberate sound that tells me Daniel is moving. I hear his footsteps, measured and calm, as he rises from his seat. The door groans softly as he steps inside, the dim light casting long shadows across the floor. I force myself to look up, my neck stiff, my eyes burning with unshed tears and unspoken questions. I expect to see anger in his face, or disgust, or even cold indifference, anything to match the turmoil raging inside me. But there's none of that. His expression is serene, almost tender, a softness in those sharp green eyes that I haven't seen in years. It unnerves me more than any harsh word could. He kneels beside me, the movement slow, almost reverent, and I feel the warmth of his hand as his fingers brush through my hair. The gesture is gentle, intimate in a way that contrasts so starkly with everything that's just happened. My breath hitches, caught between confusion and a desperate need for clarity. Then he speaks, his voice low, barely above a whisper, each word sinking into me like a stone dropped into still water. "Now, I've seen the real you." Those words hang between us, heavy with meaning I can't fully grasp. Are they a condemnation, a judgment of what I've allowed myself to become in this moment? Or are they an acceptance, an acknowledgement of a part of me I've kept hidden, even from myself? I don't know, and the uncertainty gnaws at me, carving out a hollow space in my chest where answers should be. We don't speak after that. Not for the rest of the day. The silence between us is different now, no longer just the quiet void that's grown over the years, but something charged, electric with unspoken thoughts and uncharted territory. It's as if we've stepped into a new reality, one where the rules of our marriage, of who we are to each other, have been rewritten without my consent. I move through the hours in a daze, my body going through the motions, washing my hands at the sink, staring at the cold tea leaves in the bottom of my forgotten mug, sitting on the edge of don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.